Hello, you beautiful soul. I wanted to talk about something that came up in conversation earlier today that I felt was so important, especially for my healers, my light bringers, my empaths, those of you running holistic businesses and all of the things, and just the sensitive souls, right? It's time. There is power in your words. Yes, you've heard me say it before, but telling the story about what they did, telling the story and talking about what they did, and you're like analyzing their behavior and it's nitpicking their behavior, that has to stop. Reclaim your power. Reclaim your power and reframe it. Tell your story from a place of power. Tell your story from a place that it can empower the person listening to it. It can inspire the person listening to it, because they're like, damn, this person went through all that and they are shining and they are bringing positivity and they are running their business and they are running their family and they are doing all of these amazing things for the world around them. But don't get so caught up in how you talk about your story that you're nitpicking the other person's behavior. Focus on you. How did you respond? Right? How can you evolve from that? How can you turn inward and heal from that? How can you transform from that? What did that experience teach you? Teach you about who you are, who you were, who you don't want to be, who you do want to be, who you are evolving into, who was around you, how that felt, how that inspired you, how that lifted you up, or how that didn't do those things. But don't frame it so that it continues to drain the life force from you because you are nitpicking at the person who did you wrong. Worried about calling them names, worried about talking about their behavior in such a way that it takes away from you. I'm not saying don't share your story. Share your story from a place of power. Share your story as you are healing and you are going through the process. I did that. But how I told my story also evolved with me. I started out venting my story. I started out changing how I talked about it when I realized this is exhausting to talk about it this way, right? I don't feel good taught like this. And I don't want to share all of this with the world, because after I do, then they have more questions and then they have more judgments and, right? So as I did more of the work behind the scenes, went to therapy, did my healing for my physical body, because you guys know I have physical ailments. I was retired from the Army at 28 because I got hurt. Started my business, came down here to Texas, started my business, started a life with my daughter for the first time ever, living somewhere with my daughter, just, me and her, rewriting our life story, holding the pen, going through a divorce, figuring out who I was as Kendra, just the woman Kendra, not the soldier, not the wife, not the ex-wife, as the mom, but also just as myself, and who I was and who I wanted to be. Rewriting the stories of childhood trauma, adult trauma, military trauma, all of the things, right? Telling my stories and hearing people tell me, oh, you're oversharing, or maybe you shouldn't share it that way, and feeling anger, feeling sadness, feeling grief, feeling depression, feeling what I needed to feel, but learning how to do that in certain spaces, learning how to tell my story from a place of where I was coming from healing. I didn't want to tell my story because I wanted anyone to look bad. I wanted to tell my story because I was desperate for healing. I wanted to tell my story because I was desperate to find a place where I belonged, where I felt like I could heal, where I could fail, where I could fall forward, make mistakes, and try again without the world crumbling beneath my feet. And I couldn't find it right away, so I made it. And you're going to do something similar. With the positivity that you share, with the pain that you share, with the love and the light and the healing and the compassion and the life lessons and the struggles, you're going to do that. Do it for you. Do it for the people that you will help and inspire and empower and awaken. But understand that as you do it, to focus on you and your heart, your compassion, your capacity for healing, your capacity for forgiveness and evolution and growth. your capacity to continue to progress and not stay stagnant in who you once were a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. Continue to evolve, continue to grow, because you deserve to do those things. And when you talk about your story and you talk about the people who hurt you, the distance, it's going to help. But it's going to put into perspective how you have grown and evolved away from those things, and how, you know what? I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to grow. I'm so glad that I am not that version that is wounded and hurt anymore, because now I get to heal that version of me that was hurt and wounded. And I'm not focused on the person who did the wounding. I've obviously put myself in a safe space away from the person who did that, right? So I hope this makes sense. Comment below if this resonates. Understand that I'm coming from a place of love, but it's time to stop focusing on their behavior and start focusing on our own behavior. Start focusing on our own evolution. Each of us deserve it. The world around us deserves it. The people that we will awaken and educate and empower, they deserve it. So I'm sending you a lot of love.